So sleepers at the catcher position. I'm gonna start. Why not?
Sure. Yeah.
Because I have two. So I'll go first, then you'll go, and then I'll go again. Uh, Connor Wong for the Red Sox. He's a guy who I think is known to not be good defensively and needs to step it up a little bit. But I think, and I'll say this now, I had this written down. JT Realmuto scares me a little bit because his stolen bases in a season where everyone else's stolen bases were up, his kind of came down. Him getting older, all those years crouching behind the plate scares me that now you're relying on all those stolen bases from him still at this age. So that's one. I think the next guy who could be that, hey, he's the catcher who steals bases, could be Connor Wong. So for no other reason, that's why I have him there. If he takes the next step in his development, also young guy, cool, that would be helpful too for Boston. But I think just him being a guy who could steal 20 bases from the catcher position, huge bonus.
Yeah, I long term it's going to be Kyle Teal's job. I just don't know when that's going to be, but I agree with everything you said. He hits the ball hard enough. He got some speed and he's practically free. I mean,
Yeah, this
right
is,
now
and again,
his
I've neglected to mention that, or failed to mention that he's going so late. This is a deep sleeper. My other sleeper is not as deep of a sleeper, but I think Connor Wong is obviously a deep sleeper.
yeah, 385 I have him right now, his ADP. It's pretty good value.
Yep. All right, who's your sleeper?
Sure. So my sleeper is Tyler Stevenson for the Cincinnati Reds. Sorry, it's been a long day.
Shocking, you took a guy from the
I
Reds.
know. Can you
Crazy.
believe it?
I know.
You know what it is, and
You
and
love the
this is
Reds. You love
I do,
Cincinnati.
I do, and
You
this
see
is
a red C
for
on a shirt and you think it's the Cubs, so you root for them. I don't know. What is it?
it's the same as the Bears logo, so I get confused, right? Which one
Oh,
is
that's
the
what it is. That
Bears?
makes sense
Yeah,
now.
isn't that kind of weird? Anyways,
Mhm.
no, this kind of pick is for people who want a part of the Reds but don't want to pay for Ellie or some of these other guys. Like I just saw CES go top 105 in my draft. Like I'm not paying that.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Like
Yep.
too many guys are just going too high on that Reds team. But Tyler Stevenson does feel like one that isn't, I don't want to say isn't getting the respect he deserves because quite honestly, he hasn't played well enough to deserve the respect. But I do have him. This is why he's in the sleeper categories because he's being slept on. Um, he hits the ball hard. He's still pretty young, and he doesn't really need to go crazy at 225. His where his ADP is 225. He doesn't need to go crazy for him to return positive value, right? Like for a lot of people when we're drafting, especially, and I think this is again a deeper league play, but if you're drafting at 225, you're either looking for some upside or you're looking for a guy who can just return positive ROI. And I think Stevenson can do that at 225. He's in a great park, obviously, great lineup. We talk about that all the time with the Reds. He strikes out a little bit too much. His walk rate is around 9-10%. But he just hasn't lived up to the hype. And I think because of that, a lot of people are dropping him down because we had high expectations, but maybe this is just who he is. He's just a meh player that we kind of have to live with. But I'm gonna buy him when he dips and then sell him when he's up there, when he returns some value. So yeah, Tyler Stevenson's my sleeper.
And we'll talk about that also, like buying and selling with as the season goes on and how to handle that. And when you can sell high on certain people, that's obviously going to be what this, right now, there's nothing to talk about. It's just rankings pretty much because there's no season yet, right? So, but once the teams are drafted and we see how guys are playing and different things, injuries happen, we'll talk about all that stuff. My other sleeper, and it's crazy that he's a sleeper, is because he was one of the top catchers. I remember I took him in my draft last year. I don't remember which round it was, but there was the kid who didn't really play catcher from Toronto, who was going high on everyone's list last year. I'm blanking on his name, but he played mostly outfield and was catcher eligible. Played a little bit of
Dalton
catcher. Varsho, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he got taken, and I was like, I need a catcher, and I took Wilson right after him, I think. And Wilson Contreras had such an awful first half of his season. And I'm really just making this pick to rub it in your face that he's not a Cub anymore. But no, just kidding.
No, I'm fine with it.
Dude had such a good second half after that terrible start. And it wasn't just that. It took him a while to adjust, and then he got benched. And when he got benched, I was furious. And I was like, I can't believe this idiot like got benched. He was playing terribly. He's batting like 180 or something, like literally awful. And then from there on out, the second half of the season, he had the best second half of any catcher by far. He was one of the best players in fantasy baseball, in fact, the second half of the season. It was really like when he sat down and learned the Cardinal way, which was really what they said he needed to do. And God knows what that means. But once he did that, the second half of the season, Wilson Contreras was one of the best in baseball. He signed a big deal, so it's not like he's going anywhere. That last year was the first year, and it felt like last year. I keep harping on this, but guys on in the second half who can, use that to catapult them into following seasons. I think we could see a great season and a few seasons still from Wilson Contreras, but he's still not getting that top value. If he's going at seventh or eighth, sixth, seventh, eighth catcher listed, whatever your list is, if you have him somewhere in that range, I think he could give you top 2-3 catcher value going at 6 or 7. So I like him as a not so deep sleeper.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I know he had a little bit of a wrist thing at the end of last year. Not that that's anything to slightly, maybe it's slightly concerning. I don't know, but just something to monitor. I was telling you right before we started that I just took Cal Raleigh over Wilson Contreras in my draft, but I was, neck and neck. I could have just as easily clicked Wilson and been okay with it. But I was feeling Cal right now. So
if you want the guaranteed 30+ home runs, take Cal.
Yeah,
like that's how it is.
Right.
That's what I told you right before we. Yeah.
And Wilson, you're absolutely right. Though Wilson was one of the hottest hitters in baseball. I think this is a great pick because if he can even do 80% of that throughout the entire year and keep it sustained rather than hot, cold,
exactly,
that's top 5 value right there from the catcher position.
Anything else before we hit the prospect report?
See,
we have these notes written. I already hit all of them. I mean, I told you Adley's by far and away the best.
Yeah, I did want
Cal Riley.
I did want to. Sorry, go
JT
ahead.
Those are the 3 things I told you about that already.
You did. The one thing that I wrote down that I didn't really dive too much into because I'm kind of upset is I do want Bo Naylor to finally get some run in Cleveland. He's Cleveland's catcher.
We love the Nailers.
We do. We do.
Remember, I picked Josh on a previous episode.
Yeah, I really like what Bo brings to the table. It's unfortunate because Cleveland just signed Austin Hedges, and Cleveland's another team like the Dodgers, like many other teams. They like a defensive catcher. Austin Hedges is a defensive catcher, and so Cleveland's DH spot is pretty much taken, and I don't see much playing time for Bo Naylor. I think he's still going to be the starting catcher, but he's not going to get the play like we've been talking about for a lot of these guys, right? Like that full-time PT, that guaranteed PT is huge because there's so many guys in this, at this position that are sharing time. And if Bo Naylor got run, he's a sleeper for sure at that point because he's got so much value with his bat. He's a phenomenal hitter. So he's just one I'm sad that we didn't touch on too much, but I'm definitely all in on Bo Naylor for the long run.
Love it. I don't know. I still can't get over. I just assumed you were younger than me. I thought you were like 24 or something. Anyway,
hey, that's good. I'm youthful, right?
It is good. You should be proud of. You should be happy. If I could just take a minute, also, guys, if you're listening to this right now, please go like and subscribe on YouTube because we have short clips of every episode. So if you don't want to listen to a full 40 minutes and you want just the top 10 first baseman, or you want just the top 10 catchers after today, we're going to have it all lives on our YouTube channel, Just Fantasy Baseball, or the Just Baseball channel. And we have a Just Fantasy Baseball portion under the Just Baseball heading. And if you subscribe there, you'll get new content every day. I mean, we have like 30 videos up there already just since we started. It's good stuff.
Ask your questions, right? That's another place.
Yeah.
Just throw questions.
Exactly. It's a great
there,
place
right?
to reach out to us in the comments, whatever. I should be monitoring the comments a little more than I am, but
I actually replied to a bunch today, so
that's awesome.
I'm gonna try to be more on top of that. So yeah, please.
And plus, they want your answers anyway. They don't want my answers. So, somebody texted me actually and asked me about Mitch Keller, and I was like, "Well, you'll have to wait and see."
Yeah, wait till our starting pitching
episode. Yeah, exactly.
Or reach out to us on YouTube. I don't know.
Or wait, yeah,
or
the other.
Anyway, sorry, or wait. Let's make you wait.
Yeah, we're gonna make you wait, just like you're waiting right now for the top 10 catchers. But before that, Vinny's prospect report brought to you by nobody.
Are you actually looking for a sponsor for that? Or
I haven't made a single call about a sponsor for
That's
that.
what I
I
was
just keep
just because you
saying it.
keep saying
I
that.
said
I
it
wasn't
once,
sure
so
if
I
it was
keep
like
saying
a
it.
yeah,
Um,
sure.
I'm thinking maybe like some of our bosses will hear this and be like, "Hey, that's actually a good idea. We should get a sponsor for that segment." And by
Your
the way,
boss
this
is
prospect
listening?
report I plan
Okay.
on doing all year long. Like, I don't
Sure.
think we should
Yeah.
stop the prospect report because it's not going
I
to be by
would love
position
it.
as the year goes on. I think it'll be okay. Here's the guys who could be coming up this week. Here's the guys.
Mhm.
Here's what they're doing in the minors, down on the farm. Here are the young guys who are getting playing time in the major league level. All that stuff. The prospect report is year long. So if you want to get on board, if you're a fan on the show, and you just love this show, because why wouldn't you? And you want a
Get some
great way to
merch.
reach
Yeah.
our fans. The prospect report is a great way to do it. And if you sponsor it, we'll promote you well. I don't know. And then we could pay Vinny a little more for his prospects
Sure.
research. I think.
Um,
I don't know.
so
I don't make the decisions around here. I just host the show.
yeah, we just talk. I mean, yeah, you want to
Yeah,
talk to the big guys, we'll get you in touch with them. Yeah, we just talk. We're
exactly.
not paid to make
I
those
used
big
to
time
do ad
decisions.
sales for a living though.
Okay.
True story. Yeah,
Sure.
I don't
Okay.
anymore. Yeah. I guess now is
Um,
as good a time as ever to say this though. I'll be hosting on WFAN. Big news. First time ever hosting my own
congratulations.
show on WFAN in New York City on Sunday morning. So by the time you hear this, it'll be before Sunday morning, and you could tune in if you're in New York or on the free Odyssey app across the country. 5-hour solo show on WFAN. It's going to be wild. And I didn't tell them this, but you're hearing it first. I've never hosted a radio show in my life. It's actually, I've talked on live radio plenty. I've done traffic reports. I've done the a bunch of different things. The sports anchoring. Obviously, as a producer, you end up talking a lot. But I didn't go to school for. I kind of talked about this on the first episode when we introduced ourselves. You go back and listen if you're curious about who we are. But I never went to school for media. I didn't go to school for. I didn't do it in high school. So a lot of these guys who get to host on WFN have hosted a radio show at some point along the road in high school, college, something. Not me. So my first time ever hosting a radio show is in the number one radio market in the world. That has like averages 20 million people every day listen to the radio in New York. And it's on the biggest sports talk radio station in the country at WFN. So I'm pretty proud of that. I'm excited for it. And hopefully it doesn't suck. I'll probably talk some baseball. We'll talk football, basketball, the Ranges. They're hot.
If you take
So a
calls,
lot,
can I call in? Is it an
yeah,
overnight show? Yeah.
877-337-6666. For you, tell you the hours though. It's 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. So
Okay.
Saturday night, 2 a.m. your time is not that crazy. Like I don't know what you're like when you're not around these parts, but based
Sure.
on what you told me last Sunday, you might be awake at 2
Maybe
a.m.
I'll be
on
awake.
a
We'll see.
Saturday night.
Sometimes on those weekends, I just like to stay up
Yeah.
late for no apparent reason whatsoever, So
I
yeah,
like to stay
maybe I
up late
will.
every night, and this week was really hard for me because I worked on the morning show, which means my alarm went off at 3 a.m. Which means I was going to sleep at like 9 p.m. And I sit in bed and I'm just staring at the ceiling. I can't fall asleep at 9 p.m.
Right.
And even then, that's 5 hours. Like that's 6 hours. By the time I fall asleep, it's 10 p.m. earliest. So I was getting 5 hours. It was wild. It's so against my nature, but I love working on the morning show. I love driving into the city when no one's there. I love getting into work at like 4:45, 5 o'clock in
Mhm.
the morning, and it's just quiet. And then you get to see the day start to get going. And I don't know. And then you get to see Boomer Esiason every morning. It's really fun.
Well,
Um,
congrats to you. That's awesome.
Appreciate
That's
it. Thank you.
phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wish you
Yeah.
the best
All
of
right.
luck.